Muhammad, especially as related to his polygamous life. Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam married at the age of 25 a lady who was older than him by 15 years named Khadija bint Khuwaylid. That woman, as at that point in time, was the richest woman in the Arabian Peninsula, being a business mogul, a successful entrepreneur. She was very richer than Muhammad, and she was the one who urged Muhammad to marry her. Muhammad happened to be one of her workers. It's not that Muhammad was after her wealth. Muhammad was never a gold digger. She actually, for reasons best known to her, approached Muhammad for holy communion, for holy matrimony. He did. They both married. And the marriage lasted for 25 years. It was only cut by the death of Khadija. They had children, 7 of them, male and female. From this point, I think you should understand that Muhammad was monogamous, living with only one wife for good 25 years that Khadija was alive. It was only after the death of Khadija that Muhammad started thinking of having another wife. Despite the fact that he remarried, he did not stop mentioning the love he had for his wife Khadija. All the time, he used to reminisce the love of Khadija, to the extent that those who used to visit Khadija during her lifetime, Muhammad still continued to visit them and to extend the hands of charity to them, welcoming them or anytime they visited him, all because of the love he had for Khadija. Their relationship was full of love, to the extent that anytime Muhammad passed by a grave, Muhammad used to stop, weep, and weep. He would sit down at the graveside and started weeping because he so much loved his wife. After the death of Khadija, Muhammad was approached by his kinsmen who advised him that, "Oh Muhammad, it will not be fine for you to remain single, being the prophet of God." Then he asked them to suggest whom to marry. They suggested a lady for him, Sauda, who just became widow as well. Sauda bint Sam'a. She was a widow with 5 children. Muhammad told them, "I could not approach the woman. I don't know how to toast a lady. I cannot, I don't know, people like that. Perhaps an introvert." You understand what that means? Don't ask him, no, don't worry yourself. We'll go and approach her. We'll do all the necessary things on your behalf. We just want to ensure that you become married again. They did. The woman agreed to marry Muhammad. After they married, Muhammad discovered that the lady had already attained menopause, meaning the woman was no longer having a regular monthly period. He wanted to divorce the woman, but Sauda pleaded and begged Muhammad not to divorce her. Then she advised Muhammad to take up another wife. Meanwhile, she would remain one of his wives, but nothing like sexual copulation would be between them. Muhammad agreed to this. Those kinsmen came again. They were briefed, and then they suggested another young and very young girl, as at that point in time, Aisha bint Abu Bakr. The lady was, as reported in history, 9 years old when Muhammad finally married her. It will surprise us. Why would a man 50 years of age married a young lady as such? Don't forget that every tribe, every group of people has their own culture. The Arabian culture permits a man of that age to marry a young lady as such. Even you can find out when you inquire in your own culture as well. You would see something like that in your own culture. So don't castigate Muhammad. Don't throw stones at him because he married a lady as young as 9. The parents actually wanted him to marry her. Whether he copulated with her at that age or not, nobody would know that. You were not there. I was not there. You were not there. But what it is a genuine and established fact was that Aisha did not give birth to any child for Muhammad. Muhammad died when Aisha was 19 years of age, and she did not even get pregnant for once. So, judge by yourself. Now, after Aisha, Muhammad still continued to tie nuptial knots with some other ladies. For what reason? Is Aisha not enough for him? Now let us diagnose some of the ladies he married. 8 of the women Muhammad married were widows. Not just widows, old widows. If somebody happened to be a womanizer who loved, who is lustful of women, what would such person be doing with widows? When you see virgins, young ladies around, what will you be doing with widows? One of these widows, named Sahuda, I just mentioned how it happened. The woman who had reached menopause but agreed to marry Muhammad. Now, let's look at some of them, some others. We also see Ramla, a lady called Ramla. This woman was a Muslim together with her husband. They migrated from Mecca as a result of the pagan persecution of the Meccans. They migrated to a Christendom, Abyssinia. Abyssinia, as at that point in time, was ruled by a Christian king, An-Najashi. There, the woman's husband reverted to Christianity, leaving the woman alone in Islam to fetch for herself. The woman was left alone, single. She rejected other religion except Islam. Upon hearing the news, Muhammad sent some delegates from Medina to Abyssinia that the king of Abyssinia should tie a nuptial knot between that lady and him. So that was the first marriage in absentia of the groom, because Muhammad, who happens to be the husband, was not there. They only tied the nuptial knot, and after some years, the king, the Christian king, sent the lady together with some delegates back to Muhammad in Medina. That happened to be one of his wives. Okay? Muhammad also married ladies of other faiths. He married Jewish women in person of Rayana bint Yazid. This woman was a slave, and upon marrying Muhammad, the master had no choice but to free her. The freedom was a bride price. How would somebody be in the possession of his prophet's wife? You should know that the moment Muhammad married the woman, the master, who happened to be a Muslim, who had no choice except to free her. So Muhammad used the matrimony to emancipate, to release the captivity of that woman. What will you call that man, Muhammad? Because of that, a very philanthropical, cheerful man in history. He also married another Jewish woman named Sophia bint Oyayye. She was also a slave under the possession of a Muslim master. Upon marrying her, the slave had no choice but to free her and let her go to her husband's house, Muhammad. Muhammad also married another Christian woman named Mary. This woman was betrothed to him from Egypt. She happened to be a Coptic Christian from Egypt, Maria al-Qibtiyya, and she gave birth to a boy for Muhammad named Ibrahim. Muhammad maintained a peaceful coexistence with people of other faiths. They are extremists. They are fanatics. We used to fight with people of other faiths. We used to castigate. We used to criticize. We used to bomb. We used to throw ammunition upon churches, upon people of other faiths. Tell us, who is your prophet? Who is your mentor? Who is your leader? Muhammad, who happened to be your leader, married a Christian woman, married a Jewish woman. Not even a woman, two Jewish women. When you are saying Muhammad was polygamous, you have to look at the circumstances surrounding the polygamy of Muhammad. He was not a lustful man. He was not a womanizer. He married based on circumstances that are reasonable, logical circumstances. My brother in Islam, you are always preaching polygamy. All the time, all your preachings are always centralized about polygamy. Oh, Muslims are allowed to marry as many as 4 wives. Let me ask you this. Can you marry a lady 15 years older than you? Just like Muhammad did in the case of Khadija. Can you marry a widow of 5 children? All in the name of polygamy, just as Muhammad did. Can you marry a slave? Nowadays there is no slave. But okay, let us put of a lower status to your who is not educated, who is illiterate, who didn't go to school, who happen to be a beggar on the street. Can you marry her only in the name of polygamy? Ask yourself. If you take home your fiancée that you want to marry and she happen to be 15 years older than you, would your parents give a consent? As a young man, as a single man, marrying for the first time, like Muhammad did. Ask yourself, are you going to marry a woman in order to free her from her poverty, in order to free her from her problems? Though it is a pity marriage, fine, but Muhammad did. He married out of pity. Look at the lady we mentioned, Ramla. Look at her. She happened to be single all because her husband converted to another religion. She was left with no choice, with no other person, no refuge, no shoulder to lie on. Then Muhammad married her out of pity. You see, whenever you are talking of polygamy, consider all these facts. The polygamous verse of the Quran, Quran chapter 4 verse 3, which is فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. When you are talking about this verse, because I know many Muslim brothers, all they know is, they like mentioning the verse of polygamy. But let me ask you, do you know the story surrounding this verse? Do you know? Did you know the story surrounding that verse? That verse was actually revealed after the battle of Uhud, where many Muslim men were martyred. Many women who happened to be their wives became widows. Many daughters who happened to have father earlier on, they became orphaned. Islam had no choice but to adopt the institution of polygamy in order to solve the impediment, to solve the crisis of that time. Why? What are they going to do? How are they going to do it? If they do not introduce such institution, many of these women will become prostitutes. They became beggars. They have no choice. Then Islam now encouraged the Muslim men at that